To best budgeting for departments within PBHA. I'm going to quickly walk through the process for this year because it's a little bit different from the past and kind of note some resources that are available and how to do it as a whole. So first, you open your department budgets, which you should have received an email of the ones that you're working with or you're in charge of. Some key things are the project managers who will kind of be holding the completion of the budget, making sure that it gets done by the December 8th deadline. And then you have team members who will be supporting the process, adding insight, helping to vision, and editing the budget as a whole. So really all of the members work together, but the project manager just makes sure the budget's kind of getting done on a timely manner by the deadline. So you can see this at the top. It also says what department budget it is. And then you can see there's a couple different tabs. There's events budget, additional budget, notes, and then the total for cabinet, OO for cabinet. And so those all are super helpful. But the key thing to remember on this budget, the one thing to remember from this video is do not edit the green columns, because the green columns have equations that pull from a different sheet and are calculated based on what you fill out on another sheet. So feel free to edit the yellow and the white, but don't edit any of the green because those have equations backing them. So the way that I suggest starting is by thinking about your role and the buckets that you hold within that role and what this department kind of entails, and think about the different events or things that are going on within that. So for cabinet, for example, we outlined some of the events that are held by either the PCs or the cabinet department budget. So we have the different cabinets. Of course, we have community cabinet, fall cabinet retreat, spring cabinet retreat. And then once we kind of mapped out all of those different events, then we started doing kind of a price analysis for it. So we vision what will be held at that event. So for fall cabinet retreat, for example, we know that we want facilitators. We know that we want it to be at a space. We know that it'll have to have a certain amount of meals. And then there will be some supplies that will help the process. So then once we kind of got that, we mapped out what the different costs for the number of people we are expecting would be. So this tab is really made up of different events or kind of groupings of expense types. And it's helpful, one, for budgeting, because then you can break it out into the different events, but also it'll be helpful for whoever is in the position in the upcoming fiscal year, whether it's a new student or a new staff person. They can reflect on the PCs, for example, who had this great fall cabinet retreat this year. This is what they thought would be an ideal cabinet retreat for this upcoming year. And so the budget's just a little more detailed. So that's the first side of the budgeting, which is the events. The other piece, which is this additional budget column, is for any money that's not really an event, but still needs to be spent or brought in. So for example, total gifts and advertising, we said that there would be a director appreciation of around $25 per director, which they're around 160. So that's not really an event, but that does go into the additional budget. So for anything that isn't an event, but you think would need some sort of budget behind it, that's where you add it to this additional budget tab. The one thing that I would note is try to group things based on equation. So right now you can see that it's 25 times 160. And so that'll help in the future to kind of understand that 4,000 of this amount is based on this director appreciation. But in the future, if you say, for example, wanted to add like $100 PC gift for the lovely PCs, you would add plus 100 and then add a note here. And that will just help make sure that the more detail will make sure that the budget is better followed, but then also that in future years we can kind of know what a snapshot of what we were doing in 2024 would be. So that's an overview of what the budget looks like. So we have the events tab, which you click down here, and that'll make up kind of that events budget column. And then we also have the additional budget for anything that doesn't really fall into events. And then you can see it calculates all together in this cabinet tab or this cabinet column. for the grand total. So it's super helpful, super quick and easy. But the main thing is you start by visioning and following through. If you need any more structure outside of that, like what normally falls into the budget or what are the normal expenses, there's a couple resources that were sent in the email to you all. The first ones that are helpful to see what past years look like is the FY24 or FY20 actuals, which are broken down based on the different departments. So for example, if we go over to cabinet, you can see what the actuals for FY20 were for cabinet, and that'll help give a kind of sense of the different areas where money was spent. It's not entirely descriptive of the vision for this upcoming year, but it could be helpful. And then there's also the FY23 actuals, which is from this past fiscal year, that are a little more close to the programming and the offerings that we have today. And then the last thing is you have the budget from last year, and the budgets from last year were a little less detailed than they will be this year, and so it kind of reiterates the importance of adding detail, but they are somewhat helpful on kind of looking at high level what are some of the different buckets. So you can see 4,500 was allocated for food and beverages for cabinet, and so you can see, are we roughly in a similar place in this budget? It doesn't have to be, but it's just something to keep in mind. So those are the main resources. While the actuals and the budget are helpful, I think this year we're trying to reiterate the importance of just really breaking it down based on position and department and seeing what are the things that you hold vision for what that event or that thing looks like, and then try to think of a number value that connects with that. And of course, if you have any trouble at any point along the process, feel free to reach out to me at treasurer@pbha.org, or there is also a office hours link that was sent in the email, and I have twice weekly office hours, but can meet outside of that, of course. So that's all for the budget overview, but if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks.